This is The Secret, How to Fight CPS and Win. I'm attorney Vince Davis. I'm here with therapist Brian Hamilton. Brian, we're going to take another call here. Well, let's talk to Jack from California. Jack, did you have a story to tell or a question to ask?
Oh, I have a story to tell.
Go for it.
Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. My children were taken illegally from us last October. And the DCFS agent came in, and the mother, what had started it all was, the mother was essentially a classic DV case, had been attacking me for years. And we had several calls that went in to 911 way back. I sort of mistakenly, and the big, what she would do is just go into a rage and start, attacking me. And what I would do is I was a wrestler growing up, so I subdued her. I just put her in sort of a hold until she would wrap, just like a straight hold sort of from behind. And she would eventually calm down, and everything was fine. But a couple of times she got really bad, and initially I started calling 911 I called them 3 different times, and they came out and diffused the situation. And I figured that, she would catch on to sort of stop doing that. And the 4th time, and this is way back, this is, I'm sort of going back to how it all started. The 4th time that it happened, there was a sort of an emergency. We were going into, my one son is, he had some medical problems, and we were going into surgery a few days later. So the same thing happened. I restrained her, but I let her go a little bit early, so she thought that she would preempt me and call 911. And of course, 911, the police came, and here I am, the mail and everything, and I just got taken in. I sort of took the fall for her, and so I went through all the classes, got out, and the DV charge, everything was dropped. Each situation was easily explained, but that was on my record, right? So this continued for a couple more years, and the kids were becoming affected by it, and she started hitting me with objects, and it just got sort of out of hand, and finally she struck me. I don't want to go into too much detail because I feel like I'm just afraid of my identity, I guess, or whatever, for whatever reason. But
Sure.
She attacked me pretty hard in a way that was like almost a lethal sort of situation. Scared me, and so I called the police. And one of my younger son, I have 2 kids. One is 4 and the other's 2, and the younger one was at home, the other one was in school, and the police came out, and because the kid was there, of course DCFS got involved. So they came out to interview me, and I just, of course, took it too lightly because I'm like, I could easily explain the situation. And anyways, I told them everything that happened, and what they were most concerned about was where the child was. So, he was, what happens when, any sort of dispute between us begins, that, the kids just go to the furthest place, somewhere else in the other room. He was in the bedroom. And so I explained the whole situation to him, and he asked me 3 times, and I don't want to say how I have records, but I have immaculate records. I have records that you just can't imagine. I believe your assistant may have told you a little bit about me, and what I have, but I have records. I know that what this guy said. He went and put on the report that my child was in the room with us when it happened, and that sort of, it immediately sealed the deal that they just grabbed the kids. So, and when everything began, I was very confident. All I had to do was tell the truth. I was obviously, the good guy in the situation. But what had taken place was when I went in for the DV charge, on her, I got a restraining order put against me that lasted for 3 years. So I was in this nightmare situation where I was staying at home for my kids to protect them, just to make sure that, her violence was always towards me, right? but I was afraid that if I left, I just took off, which everybody was advising me I do, because at any moment, and she would do this, she wanted me out of the house, or she got really mad, she would just dial 911, and immediately I'm scrambling to get out the door because, of course, they just come, no questions asked. I go straight to jail. So, I lived under this for, 2 years, the constant threat of that, all the time. I was being chased out of the house with a 911 call. She's, still herself. I'm living in an apartment where the neighbors are very close. We had several calls. The police came over to defuse the situation. They could immediately see what's going on. They never even checked, me with a restraining order, because it was very clear what was happening. They would diffuse it and then they would leave. But we then accumulated like many, many calls, right? So, DCFS, they have all of these records. They have this massive rap sheet. The fact that, they never even looked at the situation as far as how I got out of, that I was innocent or the fall guy in the first case. They just immediately pegged me as, I was also, I had my own charges. I was also, involved in a domestic thing. So I'm in this gray area where, it's hard for them. It's not even hard for them to see, because I explain the situation, but of course they use whatever they can against me. They're not going to, they're just going to say, hey, this guy is a DV, has a DV, whatever. So I'm sort of in this murky area. And when the guys were taken in October, I let the mother slip the DV charge, just because, having gone through all the classes, I knew that it was going to destroy her life. So what I did was she called the detective, and she was saying like, oh, he's just trying to frame me. This is all.
Hey, Jack, hold on a second.
Yeah, sure.
Because we're going to be running out of time really quickly. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm going to ask Brian's opinion. All right. Jack, in my opinion, from a legal standpoint, you're doing all the wrong things, my man.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you think?
Well, this is something that often comes up with victims of intimate partner violence, is that they take on the burden, of the abuser. They basically take responsibility for things that the abuser has done. They recognize that that certain things are going to, affect their lives, and they have empathy for them, and they try to make sure that like their kids still have a relationship with with the person, and so on and so forth. But again, as Vince was saying, that what happens is that makes it look like the abuser isn't engaging in the abusive behavior. And a lot of times, they're like, well, I don't want to file charges against them because it's going to hurt them. I don't want to make a police report because it's going to hurt them long term. And so basically just being aware that you are a victim here, and that this is affecting you, and this is affecting your children, and just being able to say, like, I want to make this stop.
Hey, Jack, you know what? I want you to call me at my office tomorrow. Make an appointment to talk to me at the beginning of the week. 888-888-6582, 888-888-6582. I want to thank you for calling. Maybe you can call back in a few weeks and give us an update. And that is all for this evening. I want to thank you, Brian, for being here as a guest. Thank you, Elizabeth Jacobo. And we'll see you guys next week on the radio.